Hello my dear students, welcome to computer science class. Now let us continue with our chapter, that is arrays. In our previous video classes we have seen what is an array, the different types of array, how to declare and initialize the one-dimensional array. Now the next thing what we have to discuss is how to insert an elements into the array. So before we start with the next topic, let us have a quick glance on what is exactly the array is. An array is an ordered collection of elements of same data type under the same name. Here you can see I have declared an array known as marks, okay, which is holding how many elements here? 50 elements. Its capacity is to hold the 50 elements, and all these 50 elements are having the same data type, that is integer. And all these 50 elements are sharing the same name called as marks, like marks of 0, marks of 1, marks of 2 up to marks of 49. Now why it is 0 to 49? The range here, though we have given the elements, the size is 50, array always begins from 0. Array subscript always begins from the 0. Therefore, the range would become till 0 to 49, that is 0 to n minus 1. Okay. So, when you count it from 0, obviously again the number of elements will be 50 only. Okay. I hope you are able to understand. Now, let us move on to how to declare an one-dimensional array. You can see here I have written the syntax, data type followed by the array name followed by the size here. Okay, and this is what is a subscript. We are able to access the elements of the array by using the subscript or the index. Okay, now this also is referred to as an index also. Now here this one example says that array name is marks which can hold 50 elements of same data type under the same name. Similarly, here also we are having another example where the array name is A and it can hold 5 elements, and all those 5 elements are of floating point. Floating point in the sense what? Real numbers, the numbers with a fractional part, and therefore here also the size is what? That is 0 to n minus 1 means 0 to 4. This would be the range of this particular array. I hope children you are able to recall the points. Moving on to the next, that is initialization. Now this way of initializing the elements is one of the method of how we are inserting an elements into the array. Okay, look at here, we have an array known as marks and whose size is what? 10. This is equals to values whatever we are giving. It actually means that, so these are the values which are being inserted in the array known as marks. Now when you observe here, I have given the size as 10, but look at the initialization part. I didn't give here 10 elements. So how many I have given? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 will be stored. Like how it will be stored? Marks of 0, 70. Marks of 1, 85. Marks of 2, 60. Marks of 3, 40. So marks of 4, 59 and followed by 99. And the rest I didn't give here actually. If we are giving the less number of elements here and we are specifying the larger size here, the rest of the elements like 7th, 8th and 9th, they all will be filled with the zeros. Suppose if I write here comma 56, comma 88, comma 60, comma 10 means, so subsequently as you have given the values here, those values will be filled in the rest of the places. Okay, so here since the array subscript, this is what is subscript I am referring to, subscript, or else you can even refer it as index. So the elements in the array will be accessed as well as be inserted with the help of this particular array subscripts. All these are array subscripts, and array subscript will always begin with an 0, integer, that is 0. Understood? Now if we are specifying less number, the rest of the remaining fields will be filled with the 0. So till here we have discussed in our previous class. Now let us move on to the next topic. What is the other method of inserting the elements? One, at the time of initialization only, at the time of declaration only you can initialize the value. The other way is of writing the code. Okay, so these all we have discussed in our previous video classes. Let us come to the accessing the elements. So reading and accessing here. I have taken the the size of the array as 5, where the name of the array is A, followed by another variable known as I. See, whenever we are going to initialize the values or insert a values, we need what array subscripts, and the elements have to move to the particular location. Say for an example here, children. Now look at this one example, int marks of 5, okay, and we have given the 5 elements here, 56, 57, 99, 98 and 22. Look at here, see, each one value will be stored in the particular location, wherein this indicates what marks of 0, this is marks of 1, this is marks of 2, marks of 3 and marks of 4. We need to, if we want to insert an elements, we are migrating from one position to the another position, children. We are jumping from one position to the another. So in order to traverse right from 0th location to the 4th location, we need a looping statement. We need a looping statement because we need to move from one location to the another. And how we are moving? We are moving subsequently, one after the another we are moving. And up to what condition we have to move? Up to less the size minus 1. Okay, the size minus 1, till that particular location we have to move on. So we need to initialize also, we need to have the condition also, plus we need to also have how to jump either one location or the 2 location. Like this we need to jump. So therefore the best suitable looping structure what we are going to use with this array concepts are, that is for loop. So for loop is said to be as a fixed looping structure if we know exactly how many number of times our loop has to be iterated. Then we need to use the for loop, wherein it is having 3 parts: initialization, condition, followed by increment or the decrement section. Now similarly we can also print the elements. So this is the program segment, how we are reading in the sense what? Reading in the sense how we are inserting the elements into an array, okay, and that too 5 elements because we know the number. So we are initializing the array with the I as 0 at the initial time because array subscripts begin with the 0. Then finally it should be less than 5. Why it is? Because the size is 5. The range lies between children 0 to 4. Isn't it? 0 to 4. Why 0 to 4? Because since array starts from 0th location, okay, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. If you count, it will become 5. Okay, so therefore the range is from 0 to n minus 1 as we have discussed. Now therefore we have to initialize the counter variable with 0 and it has to be iterated less than n minus 1. So less than 5 in the sense up to 4 only it will be. Therefore it is n minus 1. And how we need to migrate, how we need to reach the locations from 0 to 1, from 1 to 2, 3, 4 like that. Like we are incrementing that by 1. Therefore we have taken as I plus plus. Then followed by whatever the elements you are entering through the keyboard like 10, 20, 30, 40 and 50. So these would be the 5 elements where we are trying to read it. So all those elements will be read by the cin operator and this I value keeps on changing. Let me explain this one. Okay, with the programming examples, I'll execute the programming example and then you will get an idea how we are able to read and how we are able to print the elements. Let me execute the program and show you. Here comes the code here, children. look here, all these header files, iostream, conio.h and iomanip.h. iomanip.h is being used because we are using a setw here. Okay, now let us move on to this part. So here I have taken an array known as A. Okay, so here of 50 size, therefore here the size remains from 0 to 49 followed by a variable I, because we need it in the counter variable, and n. N is the size of the elements. I always tell this in the live class. N actually represents what? The size of the here the number of elements that we enter. Okay, so how many elements? So maybe our size is 50, up to I have that much limit, but I may enter only 10 elements, or I may enter only 15 elements. That depends upon the user. For that reason we have taken the variable known as n here, and this is the program segment in order to read the elements. Okay, so this one will help you to position at 0th location, less than n and I plus plus, and followed by we are reading. Similarly, we are even printing the elements. Whatever we have read it and store it in computer memory, we are even printing it. Let me execute this, children. So I'll compile it. I got 0 errors. Now let me run the code. Okay, so I hope now it's visible. Now here it is asking how many elements. That means now let me enter only 5 elements, children. When I give 5, this value will be stored in the variable n as per our previous example coding what we have taken. Now let me press an enter, and it will ask us to enter the elements. Then at this point of time, how many elements we need to enter, children? At this point of time we need to enter at least 5 elements. So I'll enter 23, okay, 12, 45, okay, 1 and 2. Those might be in terms dodging also is fine, but make sure that you are entering 5 elements, because here you have said you are going to enter how many elements? 5 elements. Okay, so when you press enter here, see, it shows the output. So this process, when you enter 23, 12, 45, 1 and 2, they will be stored in the array, and whatever is being stored in the array, we are trying to print those elements. So it will give us the elements are 23, 12, 45, 1 and 2. So these were the elements you have entered, and the same elements we are printing those. So this is how you are getting and how we are inserting an elements into the array, and how we are accessing in the sense how we are printing those elements of the array. Now let me explain this, how exactly this code works. Okay, I'll just trace the program and explain here. I'll just minimize this part. Let us continue with the PPT explanation here, children, for you all. So this is a program segment. This is the only logic that is required to read the elements of the array, and this is the same logic. So here I am printing the elements are same way for loop, but here what we are doing, here we are reading, that's why it is C in, here we are printing, that's why it is C out, and we are setting the width. That's how you could see the differences. Here I am setting 5 width, that's what in output after some space it was the result was displaying. Now look at this here, children. Let us consider the size of the array as 5 only, as I have given, and let us consider the elements which we are going to insert into an array as 10, 20, 30, 40 and 50. These are the elements I want to insert. Now at the first iteration, I am just explaining with the respect to this particular code. Now let us see that. Yes, initially the first cout statement will be printed as enter the element it is being printed, isn't it? Then after that what happens? I had entered 23, 12, 45, okay, 1 and 2 I have entered. And when I press enter, after that what happens? These elements should store here, and at the second part when the elements are printing, it has to fetch all those elements out of the this particular array. Now let's see here at the first iteration how 10 has been inserted at the location A of 0. I is initialized to 0 children, and this traversing, why I need this, because I need to store the value every time into the different locations, 0th location, first location, second location, third, fourth, like that. And how many times, up to what condition it has to iterate? Up to less than 5, less than n we have taken in our previous, in general we had taken as n. Okay, maybe the size as 5 here, the size is 5, and I will also take as n. How many elements? I have given as 5. So that 5 is being stored in the variable that is n here. Directly I have taken, instead of n, I have taken it as 5. 0 is less than 5 in the sense, it should be less, it should be 4 only. And how it should increment? I plus plus, because I want to increment, I have to move to the location 1 by 1 like this in order to insert 10 at 0th location, 20 at first location, 30 at second, followed by 40 and 50. Now concentrate here. 0, 1, 2, 3 represents what? Positions or the locations of the array. Whereas A of 0, A of 1, A of 2, A of 3, 4, they actually represents value children. These actually represents what? Value, and these actually represents the position. See here, I is initialized to 0. 0 is less than 5. Yes, the condition is true. I is initialized to 0 in the sense your counter variable will point at this particular location at initially. Initially array will be empty children. Now this 10 is not stored. Initially only 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 and this array subscript are created. So 10 value will not be inserted. It will be completely empty. Since when I am initializing it to the 0th location, your counter variable will point to at this particular location. And it checks 0 is less than 5. Yes, the condition is true. Since the condition is true, we have to read the element. How do you understand it is the first element, 0th element only? That is how A of I it is given. I, what is the current value of I children? That is 0. So read A of 0. Whatever the element is being, I had given as the previously we have given it is 43, 12, something 1 and 2 input we have given. No, the first element what I have given as 10 here, as per this example 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, these are the elements. As per this, the first element will be stored in A of I. Right now it is pointing to the 0th location, so the first element will be stored in A of 0. This 10 will be stored in A of 0. Then the compiler will come to the memory allocation and sees where is A of 0. In when the it matches, because here also A of 0, here also A of 0. Then the 10 element, whatever the element it is holding, that element will be stored at this particular location. I hope you are able to understand. And after that what happens? Once reading, still we are into the for loop. We cannot go to the next statement. In fact, the control goes to the increment part. Why the control goes to the increment part? You can understand this array concept only when you know the working of the for loop. If you are unable to understand, watch the video of for loop once again and then you can see this particular video. Okay, I gets incremented at that part. Initialization happens only once, condition will be checked up to the maximum limit, and then incrementation also will happen every iteration. So once the reading is done, I gets incremented. When I gets incremented, I starts pointing to, I becomes what? I becomes 1, isn't it? I becomes 1. So 1 is less than 5 children. In the second iteration I am explaining. 1 is less than 5. Yes, the condition is true. Once the condition is true, read the second element into which location? That is A of 1, because current value of I is what? 1. So 20 will be read into the 20 will be currently will be holded by the subscript known as A of 1. Then the compiler comes to the memory allocation. It finds where is the A of 1. Here it is A of 1. So that case 20 will be inserted. Understood? After that what happens? I gets incremented. When I gets incremented, the value of I will become 2 children. So in the third iteration, 2 is less than 5. Yes, the condition is true. See, remember, whatever I am referring to, 2 or 3, whatever, only 2, 3, 4, whatever I am referring, they all represents the position. If at all I am representing A of 0, 1, 2, 3 like that, it represents value. That is why this here it is not holding any value. Like 10, 20 it is not holding. Whatever you have initialized, that value is holding. These actually represents what? Locations. But whereas this subscript, it is an array subscript. In a previous video I have clearly explained what it is, array subscript or the indexing. Okay, this is an subscript. The subscripts holds the value actually, whereas the individual elements like 1, 2, 3, 4 and all, they actually represents the position. So right now, after the incrementation, I is pointing to which location? I has incremented 2. So I will be pointing to the second location, children. Here you can see here, I will be pointing to the second location. Whether 2 is less than 5, yes, the condition is true. On condition satisfying, the next statement will be considered as the true part. So therefore, the third element will be stored in a subscript known as A of 2. Why A of 2? Because the current value of I is what? 2. Therefore, we have, see, every time the numbers are changing, every time the locations are changing, I cannot fix it as A of 1 all the time. If you fix this one as A of 1 all the time, each and every element will store here, 10 will erase, again 20 will be stored, again 30, all will be stored in the same location only. Therefore, in general, we have to write it here as I instead of writing A of 1, 2 or 3 or such. Understood? So therefore, right now, so it is pointing to the second location. 30 will be stored in A of 2. Compiler comes to the memory allocation, sees where is A of 2 and then 30 will be placed at this particular location. After that, children, I gets again incremented. When I gets incremented, I will be pointing to the third location. Can you see here? I will be pointing to the third location. Once it is pointing to this location, okay, it checks whether 3 is less than 5. Yes, the condition is true. Since your condition is true, it makes an entry into the for loop. And what is it is? It has to be read the next element. Okay, what is there in the next element? See, this is 0, 1, 2, 3 and 4. Whatever the element, third you are pointing to, you are pointing to this particular location. So whatever the element is been here, it will be holded by the A of 3 because the current value of I is 3 children. So that element will be holded by A of 3, 40, and then the compiler comes and see in the memory location where there is A of 3 because A of 3 should match. Once it is matches, 40 will be inserted at the third location. After that, again I gets incremented. Once I gets incremented, okay, I becomes what? 4. And again checks the condition. 4 is less than 5. Okay, when I becomes 4, definitely it will be pointing to the fourth location where it will be empty actually. Okay, so 4 is less than 5. Yes, the condition is true. Since condition is true, it executes the next statement here. So what is the current value of I here? 4. Okay, so whatever is there in the fourth location, that is 50 value, it will be holded by a subscript known as A of 4. Compiler will come in search of this. At this point of time, it will be empty children. Once it finds this matches, array subscript A of 4 it matches, then whatever it is holding the value, that value will be stored in this particular location. Okay, and then again I gets incremented. Again I gets incremented. When I gets incremented, I becomes 5. As per the condition, whether 5 is less than 5, condition is false. Once the condition is false, we are not reading the next element at all. Therefore, we got an array as A, okay, at 0th location 10 value, first location 20, second location 30, fourth location, okay, we got as 40, and in the that is third and then fourth location we got the element as 50. Now this is how exactly we are inserting an elements into the array. The first method is how do we initialize it. The second method is how we are inserting the elements. The same way, the next we have how to print the array elements. Now we have inserted as per the output what I have executed and shown you here. One time we have inserted, and after inserting we are even printing it. Then now we are accessing. Till now we have just inserted. Now how to access? Okay. First element you have inserted 10. Then you should see the output, the first element as 10 only, isn't it? It should not come 20 because 20 you have inserted at the second time. Okay. So at what position you have inserted the elements? We even in the output also we have to get the same elements at the same position. So in order to print also we need to migrate every time to these particular locations, and every time our array location should start at the 0th position, and again it should be iterating up to less than n minus 1 up to 4th iteration. Again we need to have a looping structure. Therefore we have the for loop here. Okay, before to this we had a statement like the elements are, and then this time I am setting my counter variable to this location, wherein now the array elements are already filled. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, they are already filled now. Only thing is I need to fetch the value at this location and print it on output screen. Again I should increment, fetch this value and print it on output screen. Like this I need to print all the elements of the array. Now see here, initially I am setting the counter value at the 0th location, means the counter value will be located at this particular location, that is 0. Then whether 0 is less than 5, condition is true. Since condition is satisfying, we are entering into the for loop. What is this time? This time we need to print. As we all know that printing statement is what? Cout, that is console output. Am I right? So print what? The value which has been present at a of I. This means what? Print the value, because what did I say? This represents the value. This is array subscript represents the value. These represents only the position. Because I is set to at 0, your counter pointer is pointing to this particular location. So print whatever the value is there in a of I. Current value of I is what? 0. So print whatever is there in the a of 0. Compiler will go to this particular memory location and fetch this value and print it on the console output as first element as 10. After that what happens, children? I gets incremented. Once I gets incremented, I will point to this particular location, that is first location. Again 1 is less than 5. Yes, the condition is true. Since the condition is true, we are printing the element what is there present in a of I. What is the I value? 1. So print whatever the content is there in the a of 1. Again the compiler will see, go to the memory, whatever is there the value in a of 1 subscript, that particular value will be accessed and it will be printed onto the output screen. So the second element what we could able to see as 20. Okay, similarly again what happens, children? Here I gets incremented. When I gets incremented, I will start pointing to the second location. So whether 2 is less than 5, yes, the condition is true. Okay, these are nothing but the location. 2 in the sense these are locations. Okay, so condition is true. Print whatever is there in a of 2. So compiler again goes and fetches this value and 30 will be printed. So what at a time you could see 10, 20 and 30. I gets incremented. When I gets incremented, it points to the third location here. As per this 3 is less than 5, condition is true. On satisfying, print the value what is there in the a of 3. Again what is there in a of 3? 40. 40 is printed. Again I gets incremented. When I gets incremented, it points to the fourth location. 4 is less than 5, the condition is true. On satisfying this condition, print the value whatever is there in a of 4. What value is there in a of 4, children? That is 50 is there. So 50 will be printed. So therefore output again what happens? Wait, I gets incremented. When I gets incremented, 5 is less than 5, the condition fails. So there will be no further any printing takes place, because the condition is failed. We are out of the for loop. So therefore how do we get the output? The enter printing. I am just here the output I have written only for printing. the elements, entered elements are, it will directly print 10, 20, 30, 40 and 50. How it is printed? By all these particular iterations. I hope children you are able to understand. So how we are inserting, one way is to directly initialize the value, the other way is by writing the programming code. So when you write this particular code, this is what happens at the back end, how the elements are being stored in each particular locations, how we are able to fetch. Okay, that previously was how to we are reading the elements, and this is one how we are printing the elements into the array. Now let me execute one more time the array elements with a different output there, so that you can clearly understand here. So yes, one more time I'll run the code. See, enter the elements. Let me give this time only 3 elements, let me give, and I'll give the enter. Understood? Now this time I'll give 34, I'll give 12 and then I'll give 5. So these elements, see, when I press enter children, when I press enter, actually what happens? 34, 12, 5 will be stored in computer memory. All that iterations what I showed at the time of reading the elements, all that actions will takes place at the back end. And after that, immediately when it is stored, immediately it will even access those elements from the out of the array, and it will print onto the console output. And all the previous iterations what I have shown, how to print, how the values are being fetched, and how they have been printed, the same will be happen in the back end, and we are able to see the output as 34, 12 and 5. You can see the gap here, because here we have used the set width. 5 places I have set the width. That's why we are getting 34, 12 and 5. I hope children you are able to understand. Okay. So attend live classes, there also I will be explaining these programs, so that you can get a clear concept of this. Thank you students. Take care of yourself.